Excellent, thank you, and thank you for joining us for a different type of forum. Actually, I mean, it dawned on us a lot of the forums we do are more about the information technology, emerging technology, safety, etc. But we thought really it's about time we tried to introduce you to what EPRA is as an organisation, and really what goes on behind the scenes with the membership, because this is a membership organisation. I mean, no one's paid to do this. We all volunteer our time. So again, I sort of sat down with Alan and we looked at a way of, let's just bring a forum to the membership about what happens, what we're doing on your behalf behind the scenes. So I'm happy to have a great group of people on the forum, and we're going to introduce you to them as we go through, and they're going to talk about what they do within their working groups within EPRA. So the president of EPRA, as many of you know, I mean, it's a privilege that I know Alan. He's a great guy, great mentor. I've learned an awful lot from him, and I think anyone that's ever worked with Alan will do that. But unfortunately, Alan can't be with us today. So Alan's done a brief recording because he really wanted to participate in this. So we're going to play a video from Alan before we proceed. Hopefully, technology being what it is, here's Alan now.
Hi, I'm Alan Ross, the president of EPRA. This is a very special forum that we're doing today. It's one that I had hoped to moderate, but unfortunately I've got an IEEE live thing that we're doing, and they kind of coincide, and they thought that Martin could do a better job moderating, so they just asked me to say a few words. Martin Robinson was at the beginning of EPRA. We sat at a table at one of the reliability events, and Martin, Alan Reenstra, and myself, and we realized there was nothing really out there for electric professional reliability, and EPRA was born, and here we are. But the real value to an organization is member-generated content. And in this instance, the working groups are how we're generating that. We have an accreditation and certification working group. It is exactly what it sounds like. Certify people, accredit sites. Larry Bryant, who you meet, and Martin Robinson are the co-chairs of that. We have a safety and reliability working group already way ahead of the game and has got some amazing things that they're going to present. Tim Haig leads that group. We've got a data center critical electrical system. Lena McClish, who's on this panel, leads that group, and it will actually start sometime in the next month. We have a student and academic working group. Shannon Strank is the head of that. We delayed that because of all the COVID issues with universities and students not being there, so we decided to wait until they came back. And then lastly but not leastly, we have a Smart Grid Edge working group, and that's headed up by Dan Smith. Working groups create the content that you all will be able to apply and use. It will be the message of EPRA. It will be the value of EPRA. Certified as a certified electric reliability professional will come from that working group. Here's what all of the working groups have in common. They are by practitioners, for practitioners. That is very important, and you're going to get to hear them and see them. And I applaud all of the leaders, the people that are doing this. Thank you so much for the commitment, the time, and the energy that you give, because you're making it a better world. You're making the world of electric power reliability real. And all of the folks and staff at EPRA, thank you for that.
So, and again, I know that Alan really wanted to sort of chair this forum, but he's got a prior engagement with IEEE that he can't get out of. So we'll push through with the slides now, please, please, Deb. Okay, we'll jump into the slides soon. This is where you have that pregnant pause where you want to sort of play some background music, some elevator music or something like that while you're waiting. So the video went great. That was the one we were worried about. Now we just got to jump back into the slides. Okay, so here we go. Hopefully we'll have them up soon. And there we go. So my name's Martin Robinson. For my sins, I get to chair the forums and I get to meet some great people. My background is really in electrical maintenance safety devices, so engineered reliability. So that's sort of what I bring to the group from that experience. I'm ex-military, not an electrician. This is the great thing about people like me. I'm dumb enough to not ask really stupid questions and not feel stupid. So that's what I love about being a non-electrical guy in an electrical world. But my background is condition monitoring. So that's what I bring to the table. I'd like to introduce you to the next chair chair leader, which is Tim Hay. Tim, if you'd like to just give a brief introduction about what you do, please.
Yeah, my name is Tim Haig. I'm a corporate electrical reliability specialist for Stepan Company, North America. I am a safety trainer. I'm very passionate about NFPA 70E and electrical safe work practices. And I work at Stepan to help integrate electrical safety into our maintenance, capital projects, and reliability practices.
Excellent, thanks, Tim. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Lee McLeish. Lee, if you'd like to tell us about yourself briefly.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. I'm really privileged to be part of the EPRA. I think it's a great program, great initiative, and I'm more privileged to be able to start something with specific data centers. So most of my background has been manufacturing, 20 some years, and I've been with NTT for almost 4, and I deal strictly with America's group, but we do have 160 data centers globally. And so I'm really looking forward to this working group and kind of putting the rubber to the road a little bit.
Excellent, thanks, Lee. And next chairperson is Dan. Dan, if you'd like, Dan Smith, if you'd like to tell us about yourself, please, Dan.
Yeah, sure. Dan Smith. So I'm currently the Vice President of Transmission System Operations at the Lower Colorado River Authority, and located in Austin, Texas, but serving much of the state of Texas. I do come with kind of the grid perspective. This is my second utility stint. I previously was at Austin Energy, municipally owned utility. Did a lot of grid modernization work, and then have kind of moved that into the transmission realm here at the Lower Colorado River Authority. Prior to that, though, I did spend 10 years at Advanced Micro Devices on the industrial semiconductor side, focused very much on the safety and reliability aspects of that organization. So I do have a pretty strong plant understanding as well, and then just kind of covering things now from the grid lens.
Excellent. Thanks, Dan. And then last but not least, I'd like to introduce you to Shannon Strank. Shannon, if you'd like to tell us about yourself, please.
Good morning, everyone. Shannon Strank here. So I serve as the Assistant Director for an Applied Research Center at the University of Texas at Austin. So we're a research center not much like many others in the country, in that we build large prototypes, large electrical machines, and do have a megawatt capable microgrid for doing grid research. So a lot of the work that we're doing today combines a lot of the areas that I've experienced in the past. So I'm a mechanical engineer by degree, but spent my first years post-college at a software development company, and now 15 years at the center. And so much of what we do is so multidisciplinary. There's a lot of ways in which we can apply the technologies of today to do prognostics and to improve reliability overall. But as was foreshadowed in the video, and as well as Martin's comments, we are really interested in how we bring more engineers with the skill sets that are needed in order to really attack some of the serious electrical reliability issues that are here today and that are going to face us in the future as we continue to try and mitigate and prepare for changes that are coming in the environment and in other ways in which we're putting technologies to use in the future. So looking forward to talking to you all more about how we plan to beef up curriculum research and get more students interested in this field of study.
Excellent, thank you. Thanks, Jen. So again, we're going to jump in now. We're going to really sort of discuss or introduce the teams and the different committees that we have within EPRA. So the first one of it's safety first, as they always say. So, well, Tim, this is your group. If you'd like to tell us about what you're doing, please.
Yeah, I am honored to be part of EPRA and to have been asked to chair the safety work group. Very recently, we've asked Bill Rodeman, who is the electrical program manager for safety for Land O'Lakes Corporation, to help me with the team. I am humbled to have professionals like Martin Robinson in this work group, Lanny Floyd and Mike Dougherty, who these two gentlemen essentially have written the books on electrical safety over the last 20 to 30 years. Also in the group, we have Daniel Farrell, who is also, like myself, an electrical reliability practitioner. Daniel works for Flint Hills Resources in Texas. And we are working to, if you go to the next slide, please, Debbie. We are working to build what we coin as the playbook for the integration of safety and reliability. As Martin said, the early building of EPRA was brought about because the electrical reliability sector is trying to play catch up. They were left behind. So many of my colleagues are in a similar situation, playing catch up with aged, antiquated equipment that is now beginning to fail. And when electrical equipment begins to fail, it hasn't been maintained well, it is unpredictable, it is inherently unsafe. We're putting together programs to help make recommendations around increasing online monitoring and predictive maintenance programs to reduce at-risk behaviors. If you think about opening up electrical equipment and exposing a worker to energized components, whether they're in the proper PPE or actually doing work on it, as soon as they open the door, that is by definition an at-risk behavior. We want to drive reliability to understand and monitor this equipment and at the same time reduce those at-risk behaviors. We're working to make recommendations for safe work instructions, pre-outage planning. Outage planning in the power plants that I've been in, petrochemical industry, refineries, seems to be a little bit chaotic. We need to make sure that we're integrating safety planning into our reliability strategies pre-outage so that, again, we can address and be better prepared to address the unpredictability of aged electrical equipment. We're putting together some white papers on what it takes to have planned work for unplanned work. In other words, safety strategies around unplanned or reactive work. Reactive work is 60% times more unsafe than planned work. We're working on risk assessment procedures to help identify hazards and make recommendations to our colleagues, and then to understand the control measures to put in place around those. We're also looking at, we're finding that because electrical reliability is so behind, there are no 70B gives recommendations, NETA MTS, NETA ATS give recommendations around what we should be doing with our equipment, but there's no real practical playbook that tells us what we need to know. So we're working to create some work instructions around that are easily understandable for the reliability practitioner. We're finding then that they're over maintaining in many situations, trying to play catch up their equipment, which drives up those at-risk behaviors. So our safety group is brainstorming around how we can help with that. And then training. We want to work on some training programs. We've built a glossary of terms so that everyone understands the commonality of the language that we're speaking. And one of the things that I'm very excited about is we are working, I recently learned about the long-term neurological effects of electrical shock. I've been in the industry for 37 years. This is something I had not heard of. And Martin, I'd like if you would elaborate on that. We're working with a couple of physicians who have written and done quite a bit of research on this. Our safety work group is going to work with them to continue to get their message out.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like you, Tim, I've been around it a long time, and I'd never really, I mean, everyone's heard of burns and the long-term effects of burns, you know, deep tissue burns, etc. but not about the neurological effects. And I was privileged to meet a young guy called John Knoll, Canadian guy, who has for years been trying to battle. He's suffering from the long-term effects of numerous low voltage electrical shocks. And basically he introduced us to Dr. Neil Pliskin, I think, Neil Pliskin in Chicago. And Neil's a neurologist who specializes in this phenomenon of electrical shocks actually changing people's mental abilities and the way they see things. And it really makes sense, because when we were talking with Neil, he went, look, we use electrical shocks to change, to adjust people's mental statuses. You know, they actually use it. If people are thoroughly depressed, they use electrical shock to try and bump them out of that. And I mean, this is very layman-ish, what I'm talking about. But then it made sense. If we use electrical shocks to treat depression, then electrical shocks could, on the other hand, create depression, or, you know, poor cognizance, mental ability, memory, etc., etc. And then what Neil said, he introduced us to a Dr. Lee who specializes in electrical burns, again out of Chicago. So we had a conference, I think Alan and I and Rachel spoke with Dr. Pliskin about presenting his findings within EPRA, and then EPRA becoming an organization to help him get this message out, because I, like you, who've been around this a long time, had never heard of this. Everybody is about burns, but I think a lot of electricians don't understand just how dangerous the work they do is. You know, this is like a hidden danger. I put it back a little bit like asbestos. You know, way back when we used to use asbestos as an insulator, and it was the world's best insulator, and it was everywhere. And then all of a sudden, people realized it was causing cancer. You know, it was a toxic material that we've been dealing with for many, many years. And then all of a sudden, you know, asbestos became the substance you don't go near and you avoid at all costs. And there are specialist ways of getting rid of it, etc. And if you think about electrical, these hidden injuries, as we want to call them, there are many electricians that are probably dealing with this that never knew that their mood swings or changes of memory lapse and everything else are caused by what they do for a living. You know, and like you say, we're, as EPRA, I think we've really taken it on to try and do our best to raise the awareness of, I mean, I think Neil Pliskin said he's got 30 years worth of data that he wants to catalog and everything.
Martin, over my career, I would venture to guess I've worked with thousands of electricians, and electricians wear being shocked as a badge of honor. And as a safety professional, we preach the message of the potential hazard of a shock to the heart and what that can do, abnormal arrhythmias. And I liken this to the CTE, the NFL and the CTE research that's out there. And again, I'm excited about this, to maybe get some of these electricians to rethink that. You know, when you're 20 and you're not thinking about getting shocked by 110 volts 4 times a day, what's that going to do to you when you're 60, 65?
Totally. I mean, Mike Doherty has a great term. He calls it toxic energy. You know what I mean? And it is toxic. Yeah, it really is. Not just from a burn or whatever. I mean, the biggest killer, I think, of IBEW electricians is getting shocked at height, where they fall, you know, changing light bulb, unless they get shocked, fall off a ladder and die. You know what I mean? So we tend, but this one is totally overlooked. And I think it's behooving on us to really, really push that. So I think that's one of the core things as the working group we really want to work on. So I think we're doing great work in the group, Tim, and you're doing a great job running it for us, mate. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Thank you, Martin. So that's the safety and reliability work group. This is what we're working on very soon. You'll see some of our papers, some of our recommendations on the EPRA website, and I would encourage you, if you have not already joined EPRA, to join EPRA and get access to this content. Thank you, Martin.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tim. So next committee head I'd like to introduce you to is Lee McClish. And I've worked with Lee for a few years now, you know what I mean? And great guy. And what I love about Lee's story and what he indicated was he came from industrial to the critical power world. And was that much of a shift for you, Lee?
It was a transition, where you're worried about getting product out the door, and every machine needs to run all the time, versus data centers and redundancy and this lull, like, well, I can get that generator fixed next month kind of thing because I got 10 other ones out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Lee, if you want to tell us about your group and what you're doing, that'd be great, or what you intend to do. So should we say it's a new group?
Yeah. So as I said, I'm really pretty excited about this. I'm almost 4 years in the data center industry, and I see that there's a lot of potential, for the use of reliability tools. Data centers are a big user of electricity, right? Some of our new buildings we're building are like 32 megawatts. I mean, a big use of power, a lot of distribution between UPSs and generators and just rolls and rolls of switchboards and electrical panels. So a lot of investment there. And then what makes sense? Can you go and IR scan them all like every month, which would be kind of crazy. There's just so much involved in lining up, the system so you still maintain the power for your customers, which is really kind of a driving force on what we do, like any organization. So some of the ideas that I have are I guess stemming from my background, some things I've done since I've been with my company. I was fortunate to participate in a reliability web working group that kind of got started up by CBRE. They were kind of looking at having a lot of folks get certified as a certified reliability leader, through the reliability web, and how can we take all these tools and apply them to data centers. And so they've done a very good job with kind of a high level framework. And so I'm kind of looking for people interested in kind of getting down into the weeds a little bit, look at technologies and what makes sense for our type of equipment. So some of the areas, I'm planning on looking at is like PM optimization. Have you really looked at that? What does it mean? Who needs to be involved in it? What are the benefits? Looking at failure modes effects analysis, of our equipment. Just take the asset type like a generator. What are all the components? What are potential failures? How's my PM plan, kind of holding up, against that analysis? And, and through it all, kind of create a reliability roadmap. Take all these elements. These are the things we recommend. We could get as deep as, well, we should do monthly generator runs or annual, load tests, those kinds of things. That'd be fine too. There is some opportunity with condition-based maintenance, particularly with filters. Look at the differential rather than just holding it up to a light and say, yep, okay, it's time to change that one. There's a lot of potential with predictive analytics. There's some companies out there that are doing some good things with UPSs, monitoring up to maybe say 200 points, and trying to determine when, some component, needs some attention. And there's a lot of predictive technologies that can still be used. Ultrasonic is one, with low voltage, at least, sensing to see if you got a little bit of arcing, a little bit of tracking, vibration analysis for more of the mechanical things, like chill water pumps and chillers and those types of things. Oil analysis, of course, of like diesel generator oil, those types of things. So I wasn't really going to limit everything to just electrical, but include the mechanical things that make sense. What kind of CMMS do you use, and how much do you use it, and what are you getting out of it? Are you able to do mean time between failure, and evaluate those and improve your process? Do you have failure cause remedy codes in there? You can, evaluate, where maybe some more attention needs to get set. And what kind of KPIs should you be looking at? Kind of some sharing there of, what people think is the most effective, leading and lagging. And then probably some root cause analysis. what continuous improvement methods are we using to get better? And so on all these, it really kind of boils down to coming up, having practitioners kind of maybe creating the roadmap and look at these tools, say, okay, for a data center industry, this is really the recommendation, the thing that we think will help the business case and make sense. And not just be because you learn it at some conference and it sounds like kind of a good idea. So that's what I think we're going to focus on. I'm really looking for some good volunteers and getting started here soon. Thanks, Martin.
No, absolutely, and that's the key thing. It's volunteers. I mean, we're all going to jump in and help one another, but again, we want to reach out to our membership and both present and future memberships to actually be part of this. I mean, for me, like I was talking to Alan about, this actually be data center / critical electrical systems, because critical electrical systems are not just you got hospitals, air traffic control centers, airports. I mean, some of the biggest ones, airports. Even office building. I used to work in some in London. You lose a data floor. My God, forget about it. It's a super expensive failure. But like I say, I think the hardest thing for data centers is the redundancy, and people just don't understand the payback of reliability. In fact, when you start to look at the numbers look too good. And it's like, well, if they're that good, why aren't we all doing it? So tough job for Lee. But again, I think we're going to have a great team of people we're going to build on there. So again, members. We need everyone to jump. And we're probably going to start reaching out to people within EPRA that we feel, if they have the bandwidth, could really add some meat on these groups. So again, that's something we're going to do ourselves. Thanks, Lee. Excellent. So next one, academic.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Shannon, this is you.
All right, so a lot of good stuff, guys, and so many things are resonating for us in some of the work that we've been doing. So like I said before, in the nature of the research that we do at our center, there's so many different worlds that come together, the software, the electrical, the mechanical, and all of those aspects lead to and lend to new solutions for doing some of the things that you guys have been alluding to in terms of prognostics and understanding when that blip on the graph is significant and when it's not significant. So our approach to being a part of EPRA and being a part of this working group is to really try and develop solutions and to inspire others to get involved in developing solutions that help you guys do your job better at the end of the day. So we have some great technologies in the field today, but the world is ever changing. And as we evolve into more smart grid and we evolve into potentially areas where we're employing DC power versus AC power, there are new challenges and aspects of that need to be addressed. So in the academic working group, we are focused on, as I said before, curriculum, particularly how we can get more students familiar with the types of problems that you guys are trying to solve and the type of challenges that come from these complex electrical systems. Research on how we can develop new solutions for prognostics and new solutions for keeping you guys safe at the end of the day and for having your systems last longer. Then, of course, there's the aspect of how do we get the students in front of the right companies in order to get connected with the jobs of the future. So there's so many different things that are coming out and evolving in this particular application space that makes these jobs exciting going into the future. And I've sat at the EPRS and heard you guys say that it's really hard to get electrical engineers and students excited about this, but some of the technologies that are being employed today they're neat and they're areas that students want to get involved in. So all of those different areas need some attention, and that is going to be the primary purpose of the academic and student working group. And so there are some target faculty around the country that I've mentioned in the planning with EPRA that we would like to get involved and actually have them start integrating some of the materials that you guys are developing into their curriculum and start getting the students familiar and then involved in research that really gets them hands-on experience so that when they do graduate, they're ready to move into the field. And so similar to you, Lee, I'm looking for anyone who's really interested in how we develop that workforce of the future and how we really get companies and academic and government all involved in the research that's the most exciting type of research, is when we can get all parties working towards a common goal. We've done it many times here at the center. That's when things really get interesting. We get to do live demonstrations out in the field and really see if the technology is something that we can field, and we get the industry feedback on that technology so that at the end of the day, we're producing something that industry can really pick up and use and won't just end up on a shelf. So that's why I'm here, is because I really think the world of electric reliability brings together so many aspects, electrical, mechanical, software, data science, that really makes a future job field really exciting going into the future. And I'd like to inspire and involve as many students as possible in that field.
No, absolutely. And again, I think the lovely thing about students, I think we've got a double-edged thing here within EPRA, is students are like sponges. They'll take everything we throw at them. They've got no preconceived ideas or bad habits. Should we say bad habits? Probably a better way of doing it. But we also have to educate the workforce that's out there in what's involved here. You know what I mean? And I think that's going to probably be one of our biggest challenges. I mean, one of the things we want to be doing, obviously, is the accreditation bit of EPRA, where we can recognize what people are doing in the field. We're going to come up with an accreditation thing for the sites, but it's certifying engineers for electrical reliability. And I don't know, you got any thoughts on how we could approach that, Shannon?
Well, I think there's a lot of neat professional development programs that are starting to evolve again around the country. And so I really see what you guys are doing in the accreditation group as feeding into it. So yeah, it's never just going to be, their undergrad and done. I think this, as we've alluded to in our discussion here, it's an ever evolving field. It's something that you'll want to be able to bring engineers back and educate them on the latest and greatest and get them accredited in that space. So I think, again, there are schools who are realizing that some are ahead of others in that space, but we can really leverage those professional development curriculums that are being offered to help the engineers continue to advance.
Yeah, no, I mean, UT, University of Tennessee, have a great, I think Klaus Black and his team there, they've got a great reliability program. I think it's probably the best in the country for reliability. I haven't heard of anyone doing anything like what those guys are doing there. I don't know if you're aware of any other organizations that are pushing it out that much.
So I've put forward a couple to explore to the group. I'd have to go back but I've talked to a few of them briefly, but I really do think we can build up a pipeline or a roadmap, if you will, where what we're doing at the undergraduate or graduate level then has a continuation and in a circle back or a cycle that we can keep people abreast of what the newest and latest and greatest are. And I really think that's being recognized across many fields, not just electric reliability, that is needed, that people get their most satisfaction in their job performance when they get to continue to learn and they get to continue to get that new information that they can integrate into their workspace. So I'm looking forward to working with you, Martin, and others to help build that entire pipeline out. I think it begins even before the undergraduate. Certainly I have direct ties to that, but also at the community college level. We have a great workforce development group here in Austin that work through the Austin Community College to retrain veterans. Of course, we have a huge veteran community here in Texas, in the fields that are so prevalent. And being from Texas, I think I can vouch electricity is a big deal right now.
And you're right. I mean, the veteran pro. I mean, I think the reliability engineer, mechanical or electrical, will be an emerging field. I really do. Where people are then start from all the elements we've outlined here. You know, I mean, we run a veteran program. I mean, I'm an ex-veteran, so I'm very passionate about sort of getting these guys. You know, I remember when I left the military. It was a frightening time. I mean, there was 17 years I've been embroiled in this, and then you're on your own, and that was quite a frightening step, to be very frank. If I'm being very frank, and you know, you're always looking at what can you do, and you know, most veterans that are involved in the trade side could eat this job up. It would be a whole new start for them, and I'm always preaching that. You know, we have a veteran training plan, and I even do mentorship with veterans, because just to talk about my experience. I mean, I've got ex-Marines, ex-Navy, ex-Air Force, but I think they're very well suited to the regimen, if you like, of reliability.
Right.
Very process driven, and if you're an ex-military engineer, you're about process. It's you're in the zone there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to really working with you, Shannon, and helping you do this. And this is a really tough group to put together. It really is. But again, I think you're going to do a great job heading this up. Thank you.
Well, but I do believe even industry brings a huge piece to this. So I can just speak from experience. We're developing a sensor that goes out on the utility line to detect current and voltage, but to determine when there's shorts and faults in the rural grid. And every time we go out and visit that rural utility, there's like 12 of their technicians standing around watching us install this thing, because they're so excited about what the potential is, and they want to learn something new. So industry, academia, again, working together to create a relevant program, I think is what's most important here.
And I think it's the organization to run that.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thanks, Shannon. And last but not least, well, no, in fact, not last. It's next we've got Dan. So Dan's going to be heading up a brand new group, Smart Grid Edge Reliability. So Dan, if you want to tell us about your plans for that group, please.
Yeah, sure. First, you know, just to really echo what's being stated, it's pretty exciting to hear what's happening in this particular space with EPRA, and I love what Shannon you brought to this and bringing to this, just from the perspective of the people. The human capital side of it is the most significant part, and that speaks a lot to why we're even here. I will state, to make it real clear, Shannon, you need to make sure you pretty much fill it with Texas A&M grads like myself. Shannon and I have an ongoing battle, you know, just between UT and A&M, but I've actually grown to have a great deal of respect for the University of Texas. So that being stated,
we found a way to work together, Dan. So at the end of the day,
yeah, there's some good stories behind that, but it's a good situation. Yeah. So as I mentioned before, you know, this working group is going to focus our efforts on increasing reliability through the lens of the grid, and Shannon already alluded. I mean, that, you know, it's been very interesting to see just even the last number of months, this greater understanding of the grid that people now have, just based on what they experienced through here in Texas, certainly from the winter storm Uri in February, but then even, you know, more recently, you know what happened, you know, with the Colonial Pipeline. So, you know, cybersecurity and those type of things have now entered into the mix. But you know, when we speak to the grid, and you really can't speak to it without it having words related to advanced, intelligent, smart. But probably the key thing is it's a very integrated grid moving forward, and the lines between customers and the grid today are blurring more, and it's a much more integral interaction that's going on. And so, as I state, the grid, it's not the traditional grid the way we may have thought it to be in the past, being a one-way flow of power and information. Instead, it's increasingly intelligent, modernized, advanced, and if you want to use the word smart, that's fine. It's really where things are, and the grid today, which is here, and is continuing to evolve into a future grid that I think some of the attributes of that are noteworthy. And again, you can't bifurcate this or take this in sort of separated pieces. We're really in a very holistic approach, and that is it's increasingly more carbon free. No surprise there, and that's going to continue to happen and grow. It's more distributed, and there's going to continue to be things like rooftop solar and other types of distributed generation at customers' locations, as well as other sites that are going to be sources of energy. It's not going to be simply large scale bulk electric supply transmitted, though that will still be an integral part. Storage is no longer really a pie in the sky. It's now gaining certainly commercial viability, and it's also providing a key element of services onto the grid that are making the grid more reliable, but then they also have the ability to provide services to customers for their supply and their processes to be more reliable. But that storage isn't just focused on electrical, it's thermal, it's even hydrogen based, and so there's some real changes. And then, the grid has a very significant dependency, and this is back to this integrated aspect of it, of there being load control and a demand response type element. And if you unpack what happened in February here in Texas, that was hugely important in ultimately avoiding the catastrophic aspect of a complete blackout in the state. The grid's it's self-healing. There's a lot of degree of automation. There's increased levels of electrification, which is interesting as conservation has occurred. We're still seeing some levels of load growth, and it's really the offsets of electrification. And of course, people are seeing the proliferation of electric vehicles being a part of that. And that's not just, as people know, the residential or the home personal consumer automobiles, but it's what's happening with buses and trucks and other forms of transportation. There's an interactive and interoperable and transactive nature of the grid moving forward. There's new participants, market participants, solution providers, other types of resources entering into that. And again, I probably would make this clear is it's not just customer centric moving forward, but it's also very much customer dependent, and the ability to have responsive load control and load management, it becomes an important part of where the grid is part of, the customer becomes a very integral part of what that looks like for not only their own use of electricity, but then how it affects the grid as a whole. It's a part of a larger universe, and again, there's increased dependencies on communities and cities and regions that rely on this, and people understand that greater, again, based on the February event, based on the chicken and egg. You can't have natural gas if I don't have electricity. I can't have electricity if I don't have natural gas. So there's those interdependencies on things that becomes very important. So, and then I'll throw out a couple of other quick terms. The there's a macro level of the grid. And then there's microgrids, and I'll give a couple of examples here in a moment, but then there's also even nanogrids, which means what happens at the smaller facilities and all. So, with that being stated, the grid, as it modernizes, the core table stakes are still out there. It needs to be safe. It needs to be reliable. It needs to be affordable. And those challenges and those natural constraints become something that should also be something that's enhanced through what we're doing moving forward. What this working group will do is spend some time really recognizing that we will need to start looking at different ways to do things. And I have always looked at the grid or looked at reliability from the perspective of what used to be kind of a three-legged stool, and that was the traditional grid, meaning generation, transmission, and distribution being one leg of that stool, another leg being the customer facility systems. And I use the word facility systems. It's not just electrical, but it's the thermal, the mechanical, the process systems involved. That's the second leg of it. And then the third leg I traditionally looked at was the point of use equipment, the appliances, the devices, those type of things. And as you looked at an optimization approach to how you could get these three things interplayed and optimized so that you could ultimately not just ensure that the power doesn't go off, but ultimately you're producing whatever work, widgets, or efforts, or things that you need to have out of your facility. But there's really a kind of a fourth element, and then quite honestly, it was certainly accentuated again from the February event, but there's also this element of the non-electrical infrastructure. So facilities are very much dependent on communication systems, things like natural gas, water, wastewater, all of those elements and other infrastructure systems become a necessary part of the equation as well, or we don't effectively produce what we want to produce or have the quality of life that we want to have. All that to be stated, there's the approach that I see us taking in this particular working group is to really compile a lot in the area of case studies and best practices and access to other practitioners, who are actually implementing these type of solutions. And if you can go to the next slide, I think it's up there, right there. Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of an interesting thing just to kind of point out, to the left there, this is a company. I took this straight from a microgrid company's website called Enchanted Rock. And this case study happens to highlight a grocery store for those in Texas that are pretty familiar with HEB. They've got, I think, 370 stores or so, grocery stores. Actually, they were highlighted during the pandemic as having a really, nationwide recognition to their pandemic preparations and response. But one of the things they had run into is in Houston, and I'm not throwing any stones at them at this point, is they were having some reliability issues. Of course, there's a lot of hurricanes that hit that particular part of the state. And so it's not unusual that weather impacts would be significant, but their approach was to take just some very traditional time-tested technology, natural gas-driven generators, and place those at some of their most significant, stores that were having impact, and basically created a system that over the last number of years has proved to be very, very reliable, and no pun intended, but they were able to weather the winter storm event here in February without loss of power, which again, trying to give the holistic element of this is not just a benefit to that grocery store chain. It's also a benefit to customers and communities who obviously need food and water and other things, especially during life event like Winter Storm Uri that hit February. On the right is kind of an interesting, some of them maybe recognize that's here in Austin in the backyard, but that's Tesla's new Gigafactory under construction. It's a fairly recent picture of what that looks like. It's a massive facility. In addition to that, having a lot of load control type things that they're doing, energy efficiency features, and things like solar and distributed energy. It's also, with no surprise coming from Tesla, the ability to implement battery storage. And so those are all being somewhat comprehended in this new facility. So when we start talking about smart grid and grid edge, it is a very holistic aspect. And I think we're no longer, again, talking about the old way. And so what I'm looking for is definitely for volunteers who are very much interested to look into how this is being done elsewhere, how things are changing. We're not looking at being serial number one on somebody's new technology, but we are looking at some different approaches to how we see things moving forward. So I get pretty excited and passionate about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of continue to grow these things. And again, I think this is all part of our future and the way things are going to look. And yeah, so that's what I have to say about that.
And again, I mean, unique systems, unique solutions, and unique problems, and all of which are going to need a group of people like yourself with that mindset, people that are embroiled in this on a day, because the concepts of reliability haven't really changed much. But how we apply them to these different systems does change. And I think that's what people are going to be looking for, help and guidance from the group you're going to head up. I know Alan's very passionate about really pushing the grid edge solutions from a reliability standpoint. So yeah, should be fun, should be interesting. Okay, and then finally, there's a group that I work with, which is myself and Larry Bryant, the co-chairs, which is the accreditation and certification. I always look at it as, look, what makes EPRA different from any organization? What is the value in EPRA? Why should I give my time and energy to an organization? And this is why we're having this forum, is just to make people understand. All of the groups, the group heads here, everything that they feed back to us will come through the certification and accreditation body. Yeah, so Lee's group will come up with a roadmap for data centers and critical power. Tim's group will come up with safety and reliability best practices roadmaps. We've all alluded to this. So we're really going to start to take this and put together a book, if you like, a guide, or a roadmap. You can call it what you like, but we're going to produce these gap analysis of where people are currently on their reliability journey, and then they can decide where they want to go. Do they want to be a fourth quartile organization that are world class, or are they happy being a second quartile organization where they're managing risk? Reliability, it can be expensive, but equally reliability can save you a lot of waste, if you like, a lot of money you're not throwing down the drain. Plus you do less, your carbon footprint, the new thing is a big thing. So we really want to make EPRA a valuable organization to its membership. And as Alan said in his introduction, it's by practitioners for practitioners. Without being able to produce something back to our industry, EPRA has no value at all. So each one of the groups that you head up, hopefully the members will become involved with, and there's no limit to the membership of any of these groups. The group, the core, if you like, I sit in several committees, probably like a lot of you, where you have the voting committee, but you have a committee that might be a couple of hundred people, but the actual voting committee might be 20 or 25 people. But that doesn't mean the 200 people don't have a voice and they don't have a way of input in there. But what you can't have is 200 people voting, because you'll never vote for anything. You know, you'll never achieve anything. So the core committee membership, if you like, the voting membership, is there to make sure that the committee works and that we have output, and we're not stuck in this voting loop where nobody can agree on anything. But we really want to encourage the whole membership of EPRA to become involved in these working groups and just share, you know, their ideas, their expectations, and that will drive us. So, you know, Larry and I have a great group of people, and we're bringing in people that have expertise in certain areas, like, if you like, on there, Ben Lance. Ben, if you want anything to do with cables, speak to Ben. I mean, obviously Shannon, because we've got the certification side of it that we're looking at. So we want to build a thing where you can be an accredited EPRA site by achieving, and you know, whatever you want to do, first quartile, second quartile, third quartile, fourth quartile, you know, you can achieve that. And we're working on bringing to the membership, I think hopefully by the fall, a gap analysis tool where they can do a self-assessment on where they currently are to become an accredited EPRA organization. And that's where I think the value we're going to bring into that. So we've got just a few minutes left. I'm going to open it up, but I think that, you know, anything anyone else wants to throw in the last couple of minutes about what we're trying to achieve here? It's an open door. But it is the organization itself. I think, you know, we've got, obviously, with Tim was saying, you know, the hidden injury thing, we're really going to take that up. And I think as our groups develop, we will we'll take a leadership role in certain areas of electrical reliability. That's what we have to do. And again, it's only you guys that are going to make that happen. So no one's got anything to say. Everyone said their bit. Speak now or forever hold your peace, as they would say in church, you know. So if we just go to the next slide, please. So we've got forums. Our forums are changing slightly. So obviously this forum is primarily for the membership, so people can understand what we're doing within the core membership of EPRA to try and produce some value back to its membership. But we've got another forum coming up. I think if you could bring the next slide up, please, Deb. Got this sort of pregnant pause. It's like, you know, I am after going to get some bloody elevator music or something to go on. Just it's people hear me droning on, sort of filling in the gaps, you know. But absolutely. But okay, I think we're waiting. Oh, it should come up. No. However, you know what I mean? Where are we? So the next forum that we do have, I think in September, is we're going to be running. I think I need to work out where this is. It's so frustrating. Where are we? Here comes the slide. Okay, so again, it's work, more work, less workers. So again, this is something phenomenon that we're all aligned with. We don't have enough skilled workforce to do the things we need to do today. Yeah, and I see this all the time, especially in the electrical world. I mean, it's aging out. Our workforce is aging out. So the forum we're going to be running is primarily around discussing the issues around an aging workforce and how do we backfill that? Do we use technology? You know, do we bring them all back as overpaid contractors when they retire? There's lots of different ways of doing it. So that's going to be our forum we're going to do there. Before we sign off, last 5 minutes, mate. Lee, anything you want to chuck in? What do you need for your group?
Yeah, I just need volunteers, you know, and then I'll get the momentum started.
Excellent. Good. Again, and Lee's group is about to start this month, so you know, please. I think we're going to reach out to the membership. We're going to have a quick scurry through, see who we've got, and do some personal invites. But again, this webinar will be saved, obviously, on EPRA, so people can understand what we're trying to do. Dan, anything you need?
The same thing. I definitely looking forward to working with the membership and looking for some people that are very much interested in again, the holistic element of this. So my needs are sign up, participate in EPRA, and then I will be launching things. You know, the plan is to get this moving this summer, and then begin that aspect of compiling a lot of case study work and a forum for practitioners to really interact with each other in this particular area, and looking for a couple of white paper type opportunities here to further document where we're heading and where things are going. So again, it's not an R&D thing. I will say that up front. It is really focused around getting some things that are really more near term applicable. And there's a lot of stuff happening now. I know when I was in the area on the industrial side, that ability to have access to some things that really worked, what didn't work, lessons learned, best practices was really essential in making good decisions moving forward.
Excellent. Shannon, what do you need?
So I think Dan's statement, I'll give credit to, is a lot of times you guys as alma maters of your colleges, of your previous programs, have a better idea than anyone if you have strengths in certain areas. So I would welcome that information. Like I said, we at UT Austin have been in the field for many years, but that doesn't mean we have a full and complete, visibility into everything that's going on around the country that might help improve the overall curriculum, research, job opportunities for up and coming workforce. And so I just welcome that information, because we're putting this together as we speak, similar to what you guys have said. If you have a passion for the next workforce that's coming out of our academic institutions, that is all changing. I mean, the pandemic threw an entire wrench into how academic institutions engage their students, how they keep them involved in the midst of, you can't come to the classroom, but we still need to figure out how to teach you. And so it's going to be interesting times in the future in the secondary education field. So I welcome any information that EPRA members might have about their alma maters that help improve overall what we put together from an academic partnership.
Excellent, thank you. And you give me an idea, we might actually put a questionnaire together from the working group to send out to the membership.
Yeah.
More feedback on those very things. They're valuable points. And Tim, last but not least, what do you need?
Shannon, you stole a little bit of my thunder. So that's what I was going to say. If you have some safety suggestions, something that's worked well for you, something that hasn't worked well for you, incidents, anything that you want to share, please share it with us. I would also tell you that as a reliability practitioner, when I started, I felt very much on an island because electrical reliability is so left behind. And I will tell you that we have message boards on the website, and I was able to send out an email to several colleagues several times to ask questions when I was just struggling with something, and the response was immediate and the response was incredible. So reach out if you have some questions. Please don't be afraid to share. And I too am looking for more people to help with the safety work group.
Excellent. So just to wrap up, thank you very much, guys. I know you're super busy, and I really appreciate not just your time for the forum, but the time you're putting in to develop your groups. And I do hope the membership supports you, because without the membership support, we're just talking to each other. So we need to move that one forward. Again, the next forum is August the 12th. We're not doing anything in July. I think this summer, let everyone go away, do what they're going to do. So August the 12th, we're going to do our next forum. And again, membership. We're going to really have a big drive on the side of EPRA to drive the membership. It's a free membership. We're not looking for your dollars. We're just looking for your input and your time. Yeah, that's what we want from you. We want you to help us make the difference. Without without that, we don't have anything. But again, thank you very much. A little bit of a run over. Sorry for some of the technical glitches, but that's life. You know what I mean? That's life. But everybody stay safe, and we look forward to meeting up with you soon on the next forum. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.